What if the most extraordinary discoveries are just a click away? Thanks to Google Earth, you can find all kinds of mysterious things hidden in plain sight. From missing islands, portals to hell, unidentified flying objects, and more, armchair explorers have been busy. So get comfy and let's take a look at some of the strangest and most mysterious anomalies found on Google Earth. The wall at the bottom of the sea. There is a wall at the bottom of the ocean that supposedly circles the entire planet. A video has appeared online claiming the supermassive wall was discovered thanks to Google Earth. The remnants of this great undersea wall were supposedly found near Mexico. Strange formations were spotted off the coast of Baja California that are up to 2.4 miles wide. The mysterious underwater shapes are so big they are apparently visible on Google Earth. They look almost like tubes, like huge structures that seem to move in a distinguishable line. The sheer size of this mystery formation has left some speculating that it could be the remains of a ridiculously big wall. A wall that circled the globe long ago in the planet's history, when a different civilization ruled the world. Of course, there is also the possibility that Google Earth suffered from a bit of a glitch. Satellite image stitching has been used as the most scientifically accepted explanation for the wall. The thing about Google Earth is that it's not just one huge satellite picture. To create their ultimate map of the world, Google stitches together a whole bunch of different satellite images. What happens is that a seam forms along the edges of these stitched together images. Most of the time, the seams are invisible, but not always. This giant wall off the coast of Mexico could just be a glitch. Do you want to know what isn't a glitch? The ancient wall discovered at the bottom of the Baltic Sea that is 10,000 years old. A research vessel with scientists from the University of Kiel discovered a very real sunken wall off the coast of northern Germany. The wall is 70 feet deep, located in the Bay of Mecklenburg. Experts believe it was used as a primitive reindeer shooting blind for ancient hunters. But if that's the case, what's it doing at the bottom of the sea? 10,000 years ago it wasn't. It was most likely built along the shoreline of a Paleolithic lake. When the sea levels rose, the wall was swallowed and lost. Now only some bits and pieces of it are left, stretching for about 0.6 miles. The university team believes it took about 1,600 stones to build this section of the wall. It doesn't wrap around the entire globe, but it is proof that there are sunken walls out there still waiting to be discovered. The sub island you've never heard of. Thanks to Google Earth, researchers have found one of the weirdest island lakes in the world. There are not many places left in this world that humans have yet to visit, but this could be one of them. Far in northern Canada, in the Arctic archipelago, is the world's largest third-order island. Third order means the island is in a lake on an island in a lake on an island. It's a mouthful, but it's also 100% accurate. The island is in Nunavut, the Canadian territory with hardly enough people to fill a hockey stadium. Nunavut is home to Victoria Island, which is the 8th largest island in the world. It's even bigger than Great Britain, yet hardly anyone has ever stepped foot on it. Victoria Island is also the 2nd largest island in Canada. Who thought Canada had so many famous islands? On this huge and sparsely populated island is a lake, and within that lake is an island. And on that island is yet another lake, and then on that lake is the final island. Are you with me? Nobody knew about this bizarre geographical anomaly until the 21st century. Josh Calder was searching Google Maps when he came across it. The nearest human population is in Cambridge Bay, about 90 miles away. There isn't a road that leads to it. There is no way to get to the island unless you feel like hiking through one of the most hostile climates on the planet. If you don't mind hiring a helicopter, you could be the first person to set foot on the sub island, though you wouldn't be the first person to set foot on a sub island in general. Yeesh, I didn't realize this was going to be such a tongue twister. There is another third-order island in a crater in the Philippines. It's inside a ring of lakes on Taal Volcano Island, but it isn't as big as the one in Canada. The one found near Cambridge Bay is roughly 4 acres in size. It might be the largest third-order island on the planet. If there is one bigger, it's likely nearby but hasn't been found yet. Victoria Island is dotted by small lakes. It's like a big wet piece of Swiss cheese. So do you want to go visit, or have you already? Let me know in the comments. UFOs are real. People are convinced that Google Maps has captured a UFO flying over Bermuda. Yet again, Google Maps has added fuel to the fire in the discussion about aliens. Bermuda is home to enough conspiracy theories already without people spotting actual unidentified flying objects. Maybe aliens are behind it, maybe not. It was Miguel Gonzalez who revealed the mystery on his TikTok when he spotted the object while zooming in on Google Maps. In Miguel's video, he zooms and zooms until the Google Maps camera lands in what looks like a zoo on the island of Bermuda. Then the camera angles just slightly up towards the sky, and there it is, an unmistakable black disc that looks like it carries little green men. Or maybe little gray men. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Until we get some footage of the extraterrestrials, let's assume they don't look like anything that's ever come from a human being's imagination. What do we know? Not everyone is convinced that the UFO is real. Many people who watch the video argue that the shape is simply a bird. It only looks like a flying saucer because of the distortion in the image. While that might be true, it doesn't appear very true. The object looks far away in the sky, and there are no wings to speak of. There isn't as much as a feather to indicate the shape is a bird. What do you think is in the skies over Bermuda? Let me know in the comments. Who are these creeps? Jason Klein came across something so disturbing on Google Earth that just thinking about it makes your hair stand on end. He was messing around with Google's map services when he found a group of cloaked men gathering in an abandoned ghost town in Death Valley, Nevada. Jason zoomed in on Death Valley and noticed something peculiar right away. There was a strange formation on the ground that looked like a thumbprint, with little circular lines like the tiny lines that make up your fingerprints. When Jason zoomed in even closer, things got very strange. The street view revealed an abandoned house right next to the giant thumbprint. Then near the house was a creepy man dressed entirely in white and staring at a bicycle. Okay, that's weird. When Jason started moving around with the Street View camera, he found a group of men in white cloaks, looking as if they had just been caught in the midst of some sort of satanic ceremony. Thankfully, this didn't turn out to be nearly as disturbing as it originally appeared. After posting a video of what he found online, people were quick to point out the creepy men are part of an equally creepy art installation. The installation is in the ghost town of Rhyolite, called Last Supper by its creator, Belgian artist Albert Zukalski. This art installation has been in Death Valley since 1984. It's one of those weird roadside attractions in the US that you just don't know about until you drive by it, or happen across it on Google Maps. The sculptures, 12 in total, are meant to be based on Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. Instead of looking like Jesus and his apostles, they look more like ghosts in a demonic ceremony in the middle of the desert. I want to give a big thank you to GBabyG for the generous super thanks. Thank you so much for your support. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to join the Origins Explained family. Huge formation in Australia. A very large and very strange formation has been spotted in the desert of Western Australia, and nobody really knows what it is. It looks sort of like a crop circle, only it isn't in a farmer's field in rural Kansas. It's in the middle of the outback, near the rugged coastline of the world's most frightening continent. Not that the people of Australia are frightening, I'm thinking more about the venomous spiders, the snakes, the punching kangaroos, and the instant death jellyfish. The formation was first noticed by Vanessa Hammond, who was looking for Australian holiday destinations on Google Maps. She was perusing the skyline when she saw the shape of something on an outcrop and zoomed in. It looked like a hexagon carved into red dirt with an even smaller hexagon inside of it. It looked like an alien settlement, or like a petroglyph made by someone who was able to create a perfect hexagon. There was no immediate explanation, but a bit of sleuthing brought Vanessa to the truth. The strange formation turned out to be the Harold E. Holt Naval Communication Station. It is one of the weirdest naval installations in the world, located near the town of Exmouth, which was built to support personnel at the base in the 1960s. It happens to be run by both the Australian authorities and the United States. What's so strange about the base is that it contains a series of towers that look straight out of a sci-fi movie. The central tower is 1,200 feet high, with other towers radiating out of it to create what looks like a massive hexagon from the sky. It's one of the biggest towers in the entire world, but hardly anyone knows it exists. The official story is that the station provides low-frequency communications to ships and submarines in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. But that might not be the full story. In 2008, a pair of jets flying from Perth to Asia suffered malfunctions when they flew too close to the base. Although the manager said it was unlikely that anything they were doing could have disrupted the planes, that's precisely what they would say if they were lying. The public doesn't truly know what goes on behind closed doors in this giant tower. Shock and awe in Antarctica. A gigantic abandoned cargo ship has been spotted in Antarctica thanks to Google, and people are demanding answers. The cargo ship is nearly 1,000 feet long, and nobody knows how it got there. One Google Earth user, a man I've mentioned before, Scott C. Waring, proclaimed the mystery object to be a ship, and others say it's just a piece of ice. Here is the image straight from Google Earth. Take a good look at it and let me know what you think. Is this a cargo ship frozen and covered in snow, or is it just a block of ice and Scott needs a pair of glasses? This isn't the first time that Scott has gone on the record to say he's discovered something unusual using Google Earth. He recently claimed to have found a pink alien on Mars, and now it's a cargo ship. The ship could have ended up lost in Antarctica due to a storm. It could have been on its way to be recycled, but the tugboat cut it loose and it drifted away. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Google deleted this island. In the East Siberian Sea is a huge black smudge, at least if you're looking at the area in satellite images. Hopefully there isn't a real black smudge in the ocean that leads to an unending black void. Google Maps has completely blacked out an island, making some people very suspicious. What incentive could there be for Google to black out an island at the very edge of Siberia? This discovery was made in 2018, and internet users have been baffled ever since. Google has kept silent on the matter, refusing to comment one way or another. It's unclear why the island remains blurred, but you should know there is a long history with the area. It's called Jeannette Island, first discovered in 1881 by American explorer George E. DeLong. It's tiny, covering an area not even a single square mile. George was looking for the North Pole when he got stuck in the ice in September of 1879. He drifted for hundreds of miles before approaching Jeannette Island 2 years later. George and his crew named the island after their ship, the USS Jeannette. But during the 1910-1915 Imperial Russian Arctic Ocean Hydrographic Expedition, the Russians found Jeannette Island and claimed it for the Russian Federation. Now the island is in Russian hands, technically part of the Sakha Republic. The US has never disputed the claim, but their explorers were there first. Could this explain why Google essentially deleted the island from their map system? That's the thing, no one knows. It's been rumored that the Russians could have a military base on the island, one substantial enough that Google was financially incentivized to remove it from public view. But hey, that's only speculation. Nobody knows what's really going on here. And that's part of the fun. Strange things in the Chinese desert. Some weird stuff has been found in China's deserts over the last few years. One of the first bizarre discoveries came when researchers were scouring satellite images for evidence of a lost kingdom in the days of the Silk Road. Instead of finding ruins, an amateur archaeologist came across mysterious grids of dots like humongous chessboards. These dots covered miles of the sand dunes in western China. The satellite maps revealed obviously artificial textures in the soil, small holes that couldn't possibly be natural. They were identified by physicist Amelia Carolina Sparavigna from Italy's Polytechnic University of Turin. Amelia began her investigation by analyzing Google Earth satellite images of the Taklamakan Desert, a place with a history going back to some of the earliest empires in China. She found pathways around the ruins of an ancient kingdom known as Lulan. For more than 1,000 years, the kingdom of Lulan was at the center of a bustling trading industry. They hosted the waves of merchant caravans that moved through the inhospitable wasteland of their desert. Caravans filled to the brim with spices and silks passed through their outposts on their way to European markets. All this traffic made the Lulan civilization rich, but when the Silk Road vanished, so did their wealth. Finding these ancient pathways and ruins was awesome for Amelia, so she kept searching. As she looked more through the satellite maps, she started seeing grids that didn't look familiar. These were clearly artificial, made by human hands, but they didn't look ancient. When Amelia looked back at older imagery from Nokia maps, something you might remember if you happen to be a dinosaur, she noticed the strange patterns weren't in the desert yet. They must have been created after 2004. It was a mystery Amelia couldn't help but investigate, even if it had nothing to do with the Silk Road or ancient kingdoms. She did some digging and found an old article in the Chinese press. The article was about the discovery of nickel in the Taklamakan Desert. Then it hit her like a sack of bricks. The bizarre grids were probably made by geologists drilling boreholes in the sand dunes to look for mineral deposits. The grids may look suspicious, but they aren't. It was all just part of a mining operation. Don't go anywhere though, because something else has been found in the Chinese desert on Google Earth that you are going to want to see. The Black Pyramid. For decades, conspiracy theorists have spoken in whispers about the legendary Black Pyramid. It is said to be an underground base hidden in the heart of Alaska. And while the US has never admitted to its existence, some people believe they may have found it on Google Maps. According to the myth, the Black Pyramid is buried in the Alaskan wilderness, and inside of it is a secret government facility. The pyramid is larger than anything the Egyptians ever built. People believe it has something to do with aliens. They say that either aliens built it thousands of years ago, or they are currently working cooperatively with the United States inside the pyramid base. There are tons of different conspiracies. Doug Muchler is a whistleblower. He recently went public with claims to be an ex-counterintelligence agent who found the Black Pyramid on a map when he was stationed in Alaska a couple years ago. The map Doug supposedly found had an area that was whited out, proving the military is hiding something in the region. Doug's revelation connects to something strange that happened in 1992. That was the year that China initiated one of its biggest underground nuclear explosions ever. A bomb that was 70 times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. The explosion was so intense that it sent shockwaves rippling away in all directions. The shockwaves were felt all the way in Alaska, where they were picked up by earthquake analyzing instruments. These instruments picked up more than anyone could have expected. The shockwave, as it passed through the solid earth, revealed something hidden in Alaska. Instruments allegedly picked up a pyramid of biblical proportions hiding just underneath the surface. There was never any official government explanation for the pyramid. Nobody in a high position of authority even talked about it. But if the pyramid isn't real, what is this massive triangle sticking out of the ground near the former site of the Nixon Fork mine? Google Earth has revealed the very tip of what could be a huge pyramid in a desolate and unpopulated area. The whole area is barren, except it never used to be. Near the tip of the triangle is what looks like an abandoned runway. There is even a road leading directly to the triangle. Many have dismissed the discovery as nothing more than a remnant of an Alaskan mine, saying it has nothing to do with aliens. But what do you think? Is the truth out there? Flaming portal to hell. There is a flaming portal to hell. I mean, really, a flaming portal of fire and brimstone in the middle of the desert. You can see it for yourself on Google Maps. The door to hell is in Turkmenistan's Karakum Desert. You're not going to believe the crazy true story behind it. I can't vouch for whether the portal truly leads to the underworld, though I will say that if you weren't a very good person and you believe in hell and you jumped into the pit, your soul might end up in there forever. The blazing crater is a real fiery pit, a gas crater, one that glows like a cigar in the desert when you hover over it on Google Maps. It's known as the Darvaza gas crater, burning bright as the sun since 1971. The smoldering pocket is about 226 feet in diameter and 98 feet deep. It was created in the Soviet era when scientists were on the hunt for oil. They found a methane reserve in this isolated desert and started digging. Things didn't turn out the way the scientists had planned. Soon, the methane reserve collapsed. The gas was released like a poison plague that threatened to sweep across the region. To prevent people from inhaling the dangerous gas, Soviet scientists set it on fire. They assumed the methane would burn itself out relatively quickly. Well, it didn't, and it hasn't. 4 decades later, and the pit of gas is still burning. Scientists thought it wouldn't last more than a few weeks, and now they don't know how long it will go on for. It could burn for another 40 years for all anyone knows. The Nazca Lines of the Mideast. Visible only from above, a stretch of desert from Syria to Saudi Arabia is populated by incredible glyphs that have been compared to the Nazca Lines in Peru. They are pretty much unknown to the public, found only thanks to satellite images. Archaeologists refer to these incredible geoglyphs as wheels because most of them are circular and have lines running through them like spokes in a wheel. Only the true purpose of these things is much more mysterious. They weren't made to look like wheels on purpose. Researchers think they are at least 2,000 years old. They are spread across lava fields, with some of the wheels up to 230 feet across. Others are much smaller, only around 80 feet across. According to David Kennedy, a professor of ancient history at the University of Western Australia, there are more of these geoglyphs in Jordan than there are Nazca Lines in Peru. Now that's really saying something. David's recent research has revealed more than just wheels. He's also found kites and pendants. Don't worry, I'll explain it all in a second. The wheels have no obvious purpose and nobody can figure them out. The kites, on the other hand, do have an obvious purpose. They are stone structures found in the same area as the wheels, but are shaped like huge kites. Scientists think the kites were used for funneling animals down a stone pathway and then killing them. It was like a slaughterhouse before slaughterhouses existed. This would have been an efficient way for hunter-gatherers to get a lot of food very quickly. The pendants discovered in this desert are also mysterious. They are lines of stone cairns that look like giant pendants, typically found near burial sites. David has also identified random walls spread across the desert, plus lots of busted structures that could be anything from temples to houses. As of the time of David's study, none of the wheels had been excavated. They haven't been properly dated. The resources haven't been available to launch a full-scale investigation. Although I should mention that David has been on the ground. He said that when you're physically standing inside the wheels, you can hardly even see the worked stone. You get the feeling that you're standing inside something, but it's impossible to understand unless you have a bird's eye view. There are other things about the wheels that make no sense. Some have been discovered in complete isolation, separated from any other structures by empty desert. Others have been found clustered together, such as the Azraq Oasis, where hundreds of these wheels are grouped. If you have any theories that could explain this mystery, let me know in the comments. The Hollow Island. What is up with Google Maps blacking out islands? More than a decade ago, people started asking questions about a random island in the middle of the ocean that looked hollow. Google Maps showed what looked like a black opening to the middle of the Earth. The island was in the Pacific Ocean, nowhere close to civilization. In 2009, professional diver Enric Sala decided he would be the one to solve the mystery. It was no secret that this black hole of nothingness was located on Vostok Island, part of the Republic of Kiribati. However, getting there to figure out why it was a black hole instead of a normal island was not easy. Very few people have even set foot on the island. Some suggested it was home to a military base. That's always a popular conspiracy when it comes to inexplicable anomalies on Google Earth. But when Enric went to Vostok Island himself, he realized the problem. It hadn't had anything to do with Google. The island isn't a black hole at all. It's just really dark green. The island is home to a dense forest of Pisonia trees. The trees press against one another so tightly that they form what looks like a black umbrella. When you look at the island on Google Earth, what you're seeing is a tiny island with tons of trees on it. Even though the mystery didn't turn out to be that exciting, Enric Sala said it was one of the best dives of his life. He got to explore the colorful corals and hang out with barracudas and sharks. If you're a little jealous, don't worry, because I am too. A hidden door to Hitler's ice base. You all know the theory that Adolf Hitler survived World War II and fled to Antarctica. Now, thanks to Google Earth, there is proof of it. A mysterious doorway has been found on the icy continent that leads to where? Nobody knows, but there is a lot of speculation. One of the biggest theories right now is that the massive Antarctic door leads to the base where Hitler lived out his final days after faking his death and fleeing Germany. Coming in at a close second is the theory that the doorway leads to a secret alien base. Which do you think is more likely, that Hitler's skeleton is buried somewhere under the snow, or that aliens live in Antarctica? A third possibility is that the doorway leads to the Hollow Earth, the secret land hidden underneath our own. Legend has it the Hollow Earth is only accessible at the North and South Pole. There are said to be massive gateways that lead into a world of monsters and alternative human civilizations. If you haven't heard of Hollow Earth before, be sure to check out some of the recent videos in which I talk about the legendary explorer Admiral Byrd, who supposedly went there himself. In reality, the doorway could be nothing but a shadow thrown by an ice cliff. It appears to be near Japan's Showa Station, a research base in Queen Maud Land. The base has over 60 buildings in it, including a sewage treatment facility and its own observatory. It even has a power plant, since it's one of the only permanent research centers in Antarctica. Wherever this doorway leads, let's just hope that Japanese scientists are brave enough to find out. If anything crazy happens with the door in the snow, I'll be telling you about it immediately. What is China up to here? There is something that looks suspiciously like a labyrinth in the Chinese desert. A bizarre series of grid lines have captivated the public, leading to some outrageous but strangely convincing conspiracy theories. There aren't just a few grid lines that have been found on Google Earth, there are a bunch of them. Some are so big that when seen from space, they show up in satellite images as thick white lines. Other sets of lines appear as big circular swirls, and some of them contain jets and military trucks. There is nothing ancient about these anomalies in the desert. Tim Ripley from Jane's Defense Weekly said this particular image shows a missile test range. It looks like a labyrinth from above, but it's not. This is clearly a target. You can see what look like airplanes at the very center of the circular grid. Tim Ripley said there are plenty of almost identical things in Nevada around Area 51. The image I just showed you was captured on Google Earth from above the Gobi Desert. When you think of the Gobi Desert, you might be imagining a vast empty plain of dust and dirt and sand. But it's not as empty as your imagination wants it to be. The giant target I just showed you is right in the middle of two massive military bases here. 400 miles in one direction is the Dingshin Military Air Base. On the other side is Lop Nur, where Chinese scientists tested nuclear bombs between 1967 and 1995. But just wait to see what I show you next. Here is another image from Google Earth, also found in the Chinese desert. It looks like a random bunch of squiggles, like a botched connect the dots. But some have pointed out that the grid also looks like city streets. More specifically, the city streets of Washington, D.C. Does China really have a replica of Washington's streets and avenues painted into the desert where they test nuclear weapons? If this is true, what does it mean? I'll leave it up to your imagination. Thanks for watching! What's the scariest thing you saw in today's video? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and come back soon for more awesome videos. See you later! Bye!